Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, July 20th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. COVID-19 vaccination rates are slowing as cases are surging because of the more transmissible Delta variant. Here in San Diego County, another 530 infections were reported today. As Isabel Rosales reports, the push to get people to roll up their sleeves is more important than ever.
The U.S. renews its public health emergency status for another 90 days. The vaccines offer hope in curbing this pandemic, but officials are struggling to get rates where they need to be.
It means that we shouldn't let down our guard until cases not only come down, but stay down. And right now, cases are actually going up. Cases are going up, hospitalizations are going up, death rates are ticking up.
The nation's top public health experts testifying on Capitol Hill on the seriously contagious Delta variant behind the surges.
It has the capability of transmitting efficiently from human to human in an extraordinary manner, well beyond any of the other variants that we've experienced up to now.
The Delta variant now makes up more than 80% of all new COVID cases in the U.S.
This is a dramatic increase up from 50% the week of July 3rd.
It's a story of two Americas. 97% of hospitalized COVID patients and 99.5% of deaths are among the unvaccinated.
Each death is tragic and even more heartbreaking when we know that the majority of these deaths could be prevented with a simple, safe, available vaccine.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says he wouldn't be surprised if schools considered mandating the COVID-19 vaccine if the pandemic isn't under control.
We have the tools to end this epidemic. It is up to us to utilize those tools to their maximum.
In Washington, Isabel Rosales, KPBS News.
There is a push to get kids 12 and older vaccinated before the school year starts. Coming up on Evening Edition, how soon we could see vaccines for younger children. Hundreds of people gathered at St. Rita's Church in Lincoln Park today to pay their respects to Father Joe Carroll. At 80 years old, he was an icon in San Diego who worked tirelessly to help those in need. KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen has more on Father Joe's life and legacy.
I just lost a great friend and mentor.
Father Joe was many things in life.
He was the original padre.
Also philanthropist, fundraiser, and homeless advocate. But ultimately, Father Joe wanted to be remembered for
a good priest.
St. Rita's was the first church he worked at in San Diego. Father Joe was from New York and moved to Southern California in his early 20s to attend St. John's Seminary in Los Angeles. But he was kicked out and came to San Diego.
But if Joe Carroll had stayed in Los Angeles, he would not have been the man he was in San Diego.
Ordained in 1974, he worked at St. Rita's and was later put in charge of St. Vincent de Paul thrift store. This is where he found his calling. He turned the shop's parking lot into a homeless shelter. In subsequent years, he bought the surrounding property and turned it into a one-stop shop for the unsheltered. This became known as Father Joe's Villages. It boasts a $40 million budget and serves thousands of people daily. Carl Rustin helped Father Joe raise money for 15 years. He says Father Joe helped so many people in San Diego.
Father Joe is just an amazing man. His heart was in the right place all the time.
Though Father Joe wanted to be remembered as a good priest, many will remember him as
a great priest.
Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
A guilty plea has been entered for murder and other charges in connection with the deadly shooting at the Chabad synagogue in Poway in 2019. The 22-year-old gunman entered his plea today in San Diego Superior Court, avoiding the death penalty. John Ernest gunned down congregants on the last day of Passover services, killing Lori Gilbert Kay and wounding others. The district attorney's office said Ernest has agreed to serve the rest of his life in state prison without the possibility of parole. Prosecutors moved to resolve the case after his federal plea, which could have triggered the state's double jeopardy clause.
John Ernest had signed a conditional plea offer in federal court, and we discussed that conditional plea with the victims of the Chabad shooting. It was important that he be held accountable in state court for his crimes, and that conditional plea could have interfered with our ability to prosecute him once that plea is entered in federal court.
The victims' families were in the courtroom today but did not make any statements. Sentencing is scheduled for September 30th. The Dixie fire burning in Northern California has grown so large it is generating its own weather. It has scorched nearly 60,000 acres in Butte County, doubling in size since just yesterday. Officials say it actually generated a thunderstorm that led to some lightning and erratic winds. The flames are threatening more than 800 buildings. 2 have been destroyed already. Evacuations are in place. The fire is still only 15% contained. As we've been reporting, California is in the midst of a destructive wildfire season. KPBS reporter Melissa May tells us about a program that is helping San Diegans protect their homes.
The Defensible Space Assistance Program helps low-income seniors and physically disabled persons follow defensible space rules.
A lot of these people, again, have been in their homes for years. They have maybe lost a spouse. They need help.
Cheryl Landrum is the vice president of the Fire Safe Council of San Diego County. That group works with the Resource Conservation District of Greater San Diego County to offer the program. Landrum says funding is currently provided by a grant, so the work is done for free for the resident.
California is really focused on wildfire prevention, and there are a lot of funds coming down from the governor's office right now to do this type of work. San Diego River Conservancy was one of the agencies that were funded to help protect the San Diego area from wildfire.
Landrum knows how important this program is to the community.
Neighborhoods that do their defensible space have a much, much better chance of surviving a wildfire than those that don't.
The services that this program provides would normally cost a property owner thousands of dollars.
A lot of people are elderly that we serve, and they can't get out and weed whack 4 acres, or remove dead trees. And being so expensive, they're on a limited budget, so it's an extreme help to them.
Dustin Pope, president of Pope Tree Service, describes what his team clears out of a property after a site has been approved for the program.
Dead brush, dead trees, limbs that are hanging low to the ground. We're clearing up the limbs about 6 to 8 feet, and then we're also weed whacking to create that void between the tree and the ground.
When the services are complete, the chipping can be used as a weed-suppressing mulch. Pope describes how you can prepare your home with defensible space.
Pretty simple, house in the middle, take 100 feet, in a circle around your house as much as you can, and eliminate all the dead brush, raise up your trees, keep your driveways clear in case the fire truck needs to come in.
The easiest way to protect your home is maintenance.
Keeping the brush and the weeds down, weed whacked as much as you can is the biggest form of fire savings right there.
There is also a no-cost chipping program for any resident who clears their own defensible space. After piles are made, contractors will come out and chip the cleared vegetation for free. Melissa May, KPBS News.
The monsoon moisture is going to bring in the possibility for a few storms, mainly in the higher terrain as we go into tomorrow. It's going to stay dry near the coast, though. It's going to try that moisture to creep westward, but I think as far west as it gets is basically to the mountains. Cooler temperatures are going to be moving in, though, later this week for many here across Southern California. For tonight, temperatures getting down to 70 degrees under partly cloudy skies in the metro. We'll see that marine layer thickening up by the time you're waking up early on your Wednesday morning. Oceanside, 65 degrees there for your overnight low, 84 towards Brago Springs, 63 in Ramona. Look at that, Mount Laguna. Some storms possible here for you during the overnight period. Then as we look ahead to the day tomorrow, we get back up into the mid-90s in some of the inland areas, mountains, getting up into the upper 70s, and then out towards the desert, Brago Springs, 111. But again, Mount Laguna, look at that. A couple showers, perhaps a few thunderstorms in the forecast for you as we look ahead to your Wednesday. The monsoon moisture is going to continue, and while it's bringing beneficial rainfall, it's also bringing the possibility of localized flash flooding, dry lightning, fire risk, locally strong wind gusts, and also blowing dust. So again, you can see as far west as that moisture does make it. It's not going to quite get into the metro region, but we could see some of that in the higher terrain here across Southern California. Looking ahead to the coast over the next couple of days, temperatures are going to fall from about 80 degrees through Friday back down into the mid-70s as we push into your weekend. Further inland, temperatures also cooling off quite significantly here, actually going from the 90s on Wednesday back into the mid-70s by the time we get towards the end of the weekend. So that's a pretty big drop off there. In the mountains, still that possibility of some storms tonight, tomorrow, and then temperatures are going to cool off here quite a bit as well, back down into the upper 60s for your Saturday and Sunday. And in the deserts, we're also going to see a big time cool down. In fact, we're going to go from the triple digits Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, back into the upper 90s for this weekend. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jessica Pash.
Will it remain closed to tourists, or will it reopen? After more than a year since the U.S.-Mexico border has been closed, on July 21st, the Department of Homeland Security will make that decision. Many San Ysidro business owners rely on the traffic coming in across the border to stay afloat. The San Ysidro Chamber of Commerce says 650 businesses have been affected, with almost 200 of them being forced to permanently close.
A lot of us, we don't going to survive if we don't get some help, to be honest.
Every time they say it's going to be, our hopes come up, and then they come down. Another month, another month.
Our media partner 10 News received a statement from Mayor Todd Gloria in which he says the closure is, quote, unnecessary damage to our regional economy, as Baja California's vaccination rate is similar to that of San Diego County, and air travel is allowed despite restrictions on traveling by car or foot. Even with concerns about the fast-spreading Delta variant, schools across California are planning to return to full-time in-person learning this fall. But one school district in the South Bay is getting a head start, with students heading back tomorrow. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman is live in Chula Vista at Veterans Elementary with more. Matt.
Maya, while it's all quiet in here now, tomorrow this room will be full of kids, part of 30,000 students in the Chula Vista Elementary School District, returning to classrooms on a full-time basis for the first time in 16 months. Here at Veterans Elementary, final preparations are underway to welcome back around 800 students to classrooms. The district is on a year-round schedule, and kids are just coming off summer break, so this is a brand new school year. Everyone went online when the pandemic first hit, and this April they transitioned to a hybrid model where kids were coming to school on a part-time basis. But officials are now ready to fully reopen. Per state guidelines, masks will still need to be worn inside classrooms when kids are around, but face coverings can be taken off while outside. The principal here says parents have been calling and emailing, awaiting a full return. She's excited and says this has been a long time coming.
Our staff has really worked hard to make sure that we open and safely and make sure that everybody's comfortable. It might look and feel a little bit different, but what we've prepared for is a completely normal school day. Yes, kids have to wear masks indoors. They can take them off outside, but what really matters is the kids are coming back, teachers are back, and we're really excited to open our doors again tomorrow and welcome everyone.
Inside classrooms, there are some new air filters, and officials say they have plenty of cleaning supplies and personal protective equipment on hand to ensure safety. The principal says they've been scaling up staffing, and she can't wait to see hallways full of kids again. Now, there is still an online-only option for those who just want to continue taking classes just really online. But the vast majority of students, school officials tell us, will be returning to classrooms just like this starting tomorrow. In Chula Vista, Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
As vaccine makers ramp up their COVID-19 testing on children under 12, there's a renewed push to get kids vaccinated as soon as possible. Here's Steve Nannis. And a reminder, everyone 12 and older will be eligible for a COVID vaccine. For more information about vaccinations and where to get one, you can visit our website, kpbs.org, and you can click on the vaccines link right on our homepage. The Biden administration is taking its fight against Facebook to the next level. The administration is looking into how social media platforms could be held legally accountable for publishing misinformation. And as of now, the companies are protected under Section 230, a law that provides legal immunity to websites that moderate user-generated content. The White House is calling on social media companies to take a more aggressive stance on misinformation. 52 years ago to the day, that man that first landed on the moon, Jeff Bezos, blasts off into a new frontier. Daryl Forges has more on the historic flight for space tourism.
2, 1.
Up, up, and away for the Blue Origin New Shepard spacecraft. Inside, a 4-person crew, including billionaire and Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and his brother Mark.
Oh my God! My expectations were high, and they were dramatically exceeded.
The quick but historic 11-minute flight launched them more than 65 miles above Earth, experiencing weightlessness and a thrill of a lifetime.
Woo! Oh, wow. We just thank you. We don't forget to look out the window.
Returning to Earth only a few moments later.
And touchdown. Welcome back, New Shepard's first human crew.
Welcomed home by friends and loved ones. For Bezos, the venture to space fulfilling a lifelong dream.
Best day ever. And I couldn't pick a best part.
The historic crew also included the youngest and oldest people ever to go to space. 18-year-old Oliver Damon, 82-year-old aviation pioneer Wally Funk.
This experience you should share with more and more people. It's so amazing.
We had a great time. It was wonderful. I want to go again fast.
This is a second private space flight in 9 days. The goal, forging a new frontier in space tourism and exploration.
We're going to build a road to space so that our kids and their kids can build the future.
Daryl Forges, KPBS News.
Next year, California voters will be deciding on the fate of single-use plastic products. The initiative that would push state regulators to reduce waste from plastic products has qualified for the November 2022 ballot. If passed, the state would have to reduce such things as single-use plastic packaging, containers, and utensils in favor of reusable and recyclable products. Taxes would be collected from producers of single-use plastic and used for environmental programs. The western drought is threatening California's salmon population. Experts fear if elevated water temperatures continue, salmon could be driven to extinction. Ryan Hill has more.
Scorching temps are drawing plenty of people to cool off at the Sacramento River, but the cool water for humans might not be good enough for some fish. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife says the water is so warm, young salmon may not make it.
If river temperatures remain as they are, salmon will be driven from the area. They'll be driven into extinction.
And they're not alone. John McManus is the president of the Golden State Salmon Association. He says salmon eggs are also at risk.
Their eggs will be laid in water that is too hot, and those eggs will die.
But things are being done to help the salmon population, like relocating them directly to the ocean. We first showed you what Fish and Wildlife was doing back in April, trucking fish from a hatchery to help deal with the drought conditions. They also recently relocated hatchery salmon instead of releasing them into the Willamette River because of drought and other conditions. So what about the salmon in the Sacramento River? Can these young fish and eggs be saved? CBS 13 is getting answers. The project leader at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife's Coleman National Fish Hatchery says the odds for young fish are good if they can find cold water and avoid predators once they hatch.
However, once the water warms up to a certain point, and if they're in the egg stage and they're in the gravel, they're pretty much locked in there and have to experience the warmer water. And there's not much that can be done once the cold water pool is lost.
The heat and the rush now on to protect these praised fish. But there's hope once temps drop and the drought gets better.
We've seen this before. With proper water management, we can come back from it.
The agencies are working hard and we're trying our best.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, at the extreme as fires and drought ravage the West, a visit to some of the nation's most fertile farmland. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Many buyers are abandoning their search for their dream home. Low inventory, high demand, and increasing competition are pushing them out of the market. Mary Maloney spoke to a real estate expert who says putting the purchase on pause may be the way to go, but not for long.
It's so hard to get a home right now that some buyers have simply given up.
They all just said, you know what, I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. This is too hard. I'm going to check out.
Northern California real estate agent and investor David Green blames burnout. This spring, the housing market was on fire. Soaring demand increased competition, and prospective home buyers confronted all-cash offers they couldn't match.
The past 3 months, the market's been so hot you couldn't touch it. If you try to buy a house at all, you got outbid by 20 people. They've been chasing homes, trying to buy one, going through the emotional gauntlet of trying to buy a house, and they've decided that they've had enough.
There's also been record low inventory of available properties, which raised home prices to unprecedented highs. Adding to that, low mortgage rates motivating more buyers to bid on those few homes on the market. Green says he's telling some clients to put their search on ice, but not for long.
I'm telling them to slow down and wait until wintertime when there's less competition, and at least we can get an idea of what they have to pay for that house so they can make an educated decision.
In May, home sales fell for the 4th month in a row, according to a recent report from the National Association of Realtors. Part of the reason is there aren't enough homes to buy, but competition and higher prices are also turning off buyers who can't afford to compete.
There's not a lot of houses out there. Even though the market's hot, it's probably going to get hotter.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Mary Maloney.
The Kabuki San Diego Festival is making a comeback in 2022. That's the word from organizers of the music, art, and culinary event, although they haven't released dates or ticket information just yet. Those who bought tickets to the canceled festival in 2020 will have their tickets honored at next year's event. Kabuki was supposed to move from Del Mar to Petco Park last year. So far, organizers have not said if that is still the plan. Comic-Con International, the massive summertime celebration of pop culture, has once again been forced to substitute with an online version of the show for an in-person one. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando speaks with spokesperson David Glanzer about what people can expect from the virtual Comic-Con this year.
The exhibit hall is now open to attendees. Have a great Comic-Con.
With those words, the doors to Geek Heaven would open, and tens of thousands of zealous fans would flood into the convention center each summer.
We have a ticket!
Seeking out comics, movies, games, collectibles, and more.
Thank you for attending Comic-Con. The exhibit hall is now closed.
The last time anyone heard that announcement in person was in July of 2019, as Comic-Con ended a landmark 50th show. But for the second time, COVID-19 has forced the mega pop culture convention to stage a virtual show rather than an in-person one. Between Comic-Con and its sister convention, WonderCon, the nonprofit organization will now have produced 4 online shows, so it's getting easier. Well, sort of.
Well, I think it's a lot less stressful, which should not be confused with not stressful.
That's Comic-Con spokesperson David Glanzer.
Last year, I think we were probably, in terms of fan-related events, we're probably one of the first that really mounted something like this. And now that the pandemic seems to be lessening, we may very well be one of the last, so we kind of bookend it.
This year's Comic-Con at Home is only 3 days, but there will be a virtual dealer's room as well as a full slate of panels for attendees to choose from, and it's all free. You can find panels on Afrofuturism, queer horror, neurotic superheroes, and API and AAPI creators. As someone who's been attending Comic-Con for decades, I was thrilled to be able to watch 70 hours of programming last year.
Hello and welcome to Art and the Holocaust.
The women behind Mythic Quest, Raven's Banquet.
Zombies and coronavirus planning for the next big outbreak.
That feed could never be duplicated in person, where you have to allow for hours of waiting in line, or at the very least travel time between panels. Virtual programming means you can watch panels back-to-back all day from your couch, and if one panel doesn't deliver what you want, then you can immediately jump into another without missing a beat. Plus, you no longer have to make agonizing decisions when faced with overlapping programming.
One of the great things about being virtual was during a real show, you have to decide sometimes, what do I want to see? The great thing about being virtual is that you just have to decide what you want to see first. So the plan is, again, to have times when the panels drop, but those panels should remain online for, a period of time.
The Eisner Awards, often referred to as the Oscars of the comics industry, will also be virtual again this year.
And I want to welcome you to the Will Eisner Comic Industry Award Show.
The good news about the virtual show is it's only an hour, and having it online as video means you can pause it and take notes about nominees and create a perfect summer reading list.
And the nominees are?
But there's nothing that can replace the in-person gathering where you enjoy an annual reunion with geeky friends and the joyous discovery of walking through the exhibit hall and finding a new artist or comic. In order to satisfy that need for face-to-face fandom,
move along.
Comic-Con is creating a special edition event in November.
It'll be over Thanksgiving weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We do know we'll be at the convention center. We do know that we'll have programming and exhibit floor space. So it'll be a smaller show, a more intimate show.
And that's something you can geek out about. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.